All right. This is the first live chat. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but just just never got a chance. So I felt like this weekend would probably be the best time to start. There's a lot of news in MMA, but my main focus is going to be Asian MMA or, MMA in Asia, Asian fighters. It doesn't matter what promotion that they're in. I would like to focus on them and kind of give them their shine and talk about them and what's happening with them and what's going on in their careers. Just me and my thoughts and your questions. And if I got the answers, I'll give you the answers. But before I start with any comments, let me go in here and retweet this real fast so people can come on, and then I will I will get going for everybody. So now there was some big news over the weekend. A couple things, mainly UFC 248. You had 3 Asian fighters fight on the card. You had Batgerel Danaa from Mongolia with a sick first round knockout, straight up knockout. And then you had Jingliang. He lost a tough decision to Neil Magny. Neil Magny's a beast. And then you had, of course, probably one of the greatest fights of all time in UFC history with Zhang Weili and Joanna Jędrzejczyk going at it for 5 rounds, 25 minutes of fury. I'm going to discuss all of that. Also, some other news from the event was, of course, you guys all know, Brian Ortega slapping Jay Park, who is many people consider the Korean Zombies translator. There's more to the story, so I'll get into that later. But the first thing I want to get into is let's go to the Mongolian. Okay, Batgerel. Now, if you look at Batgerel, he came up in the Mongolian scene. He fought for Legend. He's been fighting since 2011, since Legend. If you know what Legend FC is, if you don't know what it is a promotion out of Hong Kong. They just actually, if I'm not mistaken, last year uh, they were purchased by Conor McGregor's manager or agent or somebody, and then they started to do events again, but it became something that's a little bit different. It is like a purely Chinese organization where I feel they only have Chinese fighters. Uh, different from what they were a long time ago, where they would have like fighters from all over the world come in and compete. Legend FC's had a lot of ex UFC guys, not ex UFC guys, had a lot of guys fighting in the UFC right now. Like Kai Kara France, Dan Hooker. You got a lot of guys that are in one championship that fought for Legend. A lot of good fighters coming out of there. Robert Whitaker fought for Legend. Um, but Batgerel, he fought for them in the beginning of his career, 2011, 2012, 2013. He actually has a win over Kai Kara France. So, once that promotion folded, he hopped around a little bit, got on a 3-fight winning streak, made his debut last year at UFC Shenzhen and lost a decision to Alatang. It was his first fight in the UFC. We don't know much about him, but I knew that he's been training down at Jackson's, and actually interviewed him before this fight, and he just told me, like, just wait until I get in there and do what I do, and he did it. Got the first round knockout, left hook, boom, Kennedy was out like a light. Nothing you can really say else about that performance except for, he fought like his job was on the line. So now, where does he go from here? That was a great performance, a beautiful knockout, highlight reel. There's some options that he has. Of course, he's not gonna fight no guy that's in like the top 15 or anything like that. But I feel like some good matchups for Batgerel would be um, Andre Ewell. He's coming off that controversial decision win over, I feel, Johnny Martinez. I think that's who it was. I feel Andre Ewell would be a good matchup, a good stylistic matchup. Both guys can stand and bang and put on a pretty good fight. And they're kind of at, the similar in the rankings, I guess. Even though Ewell won his last fight, a lot of people believe he might be on a losing streak right now. Texas, what can you do? Another guy that you can look at is Chris Gutierrez. Chris Gutierrez, 2-fight winning streak, both decisions though. But I feel like that also is another good stylistic matchup. Um, Benito Lopez, he's another guy that Batgerel could fight later on this year. I feel like all three of those guys don't have any fight lined up. So um, I feel all four of the guys, Andre Ewell, Chris Gutierrez, Benito Lopez, Batgerel Danaa, I feel like those four guys could fight each other. Those are good matchups for each other. Um, I think that's a good idea. I don't see why not. Um, okay, now what else is there? Uh, who else fought? But expect Batgerel to be, you know, elevate himself in his skill set as he goes. It's gonna take a while. He's not. It was a highlight reel knockout, but it's not like he's a guy that we're gonna be like, oh my god, he's gonna be in the top 15 in the next two fights. He's not, a guy with a lot of hype. He's not, uh, a Sean O'Malley or anything like that. But who knows what can happen with him if he gets the right matchups. And I feel like the UFC is trying to build him because he's the only Mongolian fighter on the roster. So um, why not, man? Why not try to build him? You know what I mean? The other fight, the next one was the Leech. Man, the Leech, man. Um, Coming into this fight, the Leech, he's only lost 3 times in the UFC. Okay, another guy from Legend too. Fought most of his career with Legend before he went to the UFC. But yeah, before he went to the before he went to UFC, he beat like Luke Jumo, a couple other decent guys in Legend. But in the UFC, he's only lost 3 times. Uh, Nordine Taleb in Canada, which that's his home grounds. Kieta um, Nakamura in Japan, and Jake Matthews in Australia. So whenever he goes or whenever he loses, it's always in his opponent's home turf. And I felt like this fight, you know, could break that curse, but it didn't. Dio Magny came off a long layoff, looked phenomenal. The Leech's game plan was questionable at the least, and I don't know what he was doing. It almost felt like he didn't know what to do with Magny's distance and his reach, and he had no answers for that, so he started to wrestle with him. But that's the last thing you want to do with Magny. Magny wants to go to the ground. Magny is fucking really good on the ground, and I don't know why the Leech went down there and tried to clinch, and it just was not effective at all, and was dominated. A clean sweep on the cards. This is also coming off a 3-fight win streak, where his last 3 fights were TKO victories. His last fight was a win over Zaleski by knockout. It was just like, how do you go from that kind of performance to going into a big UFC event and kind of just not performing up to your abilities? Um, I feel it's a combination of him not being able to perform under those bright lights, as the and right now at this moment, and on top of that, Neil Magny's just a monster, and I'm feeling like Neil Magny should be ranked, even though he hasn't fought in a long time. Should be ranked, and he should be fighting a big name or a big, a top ranked guy eventually. And if Lee would have won, he would have been in that position. But now he just goes back to the line, and then we gotta look at, okay, where does he go from here? Who can he fight? Who can he match up against? And I was looking. Let me go find this real fast. Um, I was looking to see what welterweights out there can we get in here, and I was thinking, why not put him against uh 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 Cowboy Oliveira? He just won his fight by decision, but before that, he was on a 3-fight losing streak, so his job was on the line. Why not put him against the Leech? I think that's an exciting matchup. I think that would bring a finish in the fight. Um, that's a pretty decent, matchup. Another guy you could put him against is Warley Alves. He's coming off a submission loss. Why not match him up? Um, yeah, I think those two guys are the guys that I look at as exciting matchups for the Leech. Even Tim Means. Tim Means would be a good matchup for the Leech. Um, Tim Means, if Max Payne Griffin is still around, if he doesn't get cut, I don't, that would be actually be a decent matchup too. And there's so many fights right now. Alex Morono would be a good matchup for the Leech. Um, I don't think he's fought any of those guys. Yeah, he hasn't fought any of those guys. So Alex Morono, Max Griffin, Cowboy Oliveira, Tim Means, those are all really, really good matchups for the Leech, I think, for his next upcoming fight. Um, Another one is, if you guys got any questions, I'm just going over um, UFC 248. I went over uh, Batgerel Danaa victory and his possible matchups coming up, and then I went over the Leech and his uninspired performance against Neil Magny and who he can fight. I just talked about that. If you got any questions, you got any comments, put them up where on the side. I think I can see them right here. So if you got it, just put them up. And okay, now the Leech. Then you got what is it? Batgerel Danaa. Now for people that are just joining, this live chat is going to be mostly based on um, MMA in Asia, Asian fighters, just anything Asian MMA, and um, yeah, just any of those, anything that you want to know. Ask me about Asian fighters. If it's just about just fighting in general, I don't mind. I'll talk about it. Um, the first Psycho Goat Ferguson, he's asking, do you think Kevin Lee will ever be champ? Um, at 155, um, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Like, can he get past, uh, uh, like a Tony Ferguson? Because he's already lost to Ferguson, right? And he didn't really show me that he could beat Ferguson in that fight, right? Because I don't know, that was a weird fight. I have to watch that again, but I feel like, can he get it past Tony Ferguson? Can he withstand the onslaught of Justin Gaethje? Can he, can he get past Dan Hooker? Can he get past Paul Felder? Like, there's so many guys in front of him that it's hard to say, because even though I think he's still young, but yeah, I think he could be champ, man. If it's not going to be anytime soon, I don't think that's going to happen in the next like 2 years or nothing like that. But uh, if Kevin Lee's still around in 3 years, and he continues fighting and faces the top competition and builds uh, that resume, I think he could be champion in like about 3 years or so. Not anytime soon. There's too many guys. Too many guys Like there's like Dustin Poirier, there's so many guys in front of him that it's almost impossible. And in welterweight, it's not going to happen. Um, Now, another thing, Asian MMA. Let's go back to UFC 248. Uh, the next part of UFC 248 that I wanted to get into is oh yeah, the co-main event, man. What a fucking insane fight, right? What a fucking crazy fight, Peter Yan versus Korean Zombie would be an interesting matchup. Um, yeah, I don't think Korean Zombie is gonna go down to bantamweight, and I don't feel Peter Yan is, interested in going up to featherweight. So, uh, that would be a weird matchup. But hey, I'd watch it. If Peter Yan wanted to go up to featherweight and fight the Zombie, shit, I watch that fight. You know, um, Zombie's a pretty good size featherweight, so um, I thought when I saw him and Brian Ortega face off, I thought Ortega would have been bigger than the Zombie, but actually it was the opposite. The Zombie was a little bit bigger, so he pretty much walks around much bigger, and he seems like he cuts a lot of weight, or weight cutting is not one of his specialties because he always looks like terrible during the weight cut. But yeah, it is an interesting matchup, but I don't think it will ever happen. Now, going back to the co-main event, right? Of UFC 248, um, you got Zhang Weili versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Insane co-main event, man. It was such uh I don't know. It was just so fast. That fight was just so fast that like that 25 minutes of watching that fight, it just went by so fast. It was just so much fury. It was just so much just insane action throughout that fight that I don't understand how you could judge that fight. Like, especially in the arena where people are going nuts. It must have been fucking distracting, man. And it was a split decision for Wei Li, but if it was a split decision for Joanna, I wouldn't even be mad, man. Like that fight was just nuts. Like it was just so hard. That's a fight that you cannot argue about the decision. You know what I mean? It's like it could have went either way. Um, what about the slow motion uh, after Joanna got that hematoma, right? I think it was like the third round where it was getting just outrageous. And then they would show the slow motion punches to the forehead where her forehead would dip in and then pop back out. That shit was crazy, man. Like I was like scared that that shit was gonna blow up on her forehead and shit. I was like, man, I must not be a doctor because they didn't stop the fight because of that. But that hematoma was insane, dude. People putting up those pictures of the Klingons and shit. That's just crazy. Let's go to the comments a little bit more. Okay. Mizuki's chances. Torres on her way out, or is it because she's been fighting the best? Torres has been fighting the best, man. That's Kevin Lapionte. I hope that I said that right. But Torres, she's been fighting the best, man. Yeah, her last her losses against the top of the division. Mizuki's chances are not that high. Let's be honest. Torres is fast. She's not gonna be there to knock you out. She's gonna be there to point you. So what Mizuki has to do is either she needs to get it to the ground where she can excel. What's up, man? What's up, Jake? Um, she needs to get it to the ground where she can excel, or she needs to make it a dirty fight like her last one. Just get in there gritty. Because in her last one, Mizuki, what she did was she went in there with a power striker and she won that fight. Even though it was a split, she still won that fight. So I feel like this fight is a huge chance for Mizuki to especially if she could get the finish like on the ground. I feel like she's bigger. She might be bigger than Torres, but Torres might be stronger. I'm not for sure. But that's an interesting fight though. For Mizuki, she's been training with Sarah Longo and going to Henzo Gracie's and I wonder how much that's gonna benefit her in this fight because Torres, I wonder where her confidence is at. She's lost 3 in a row, and even though it's to the best of the division, it's still 3 in a row, man. So it's um it's an interesting fight, man. I want to talk about them more as they get closer, but yeah, right now I look at it as like there's like a 60-40, Mizuki winning by 40, I think 40%, 60% Torres. So that's like the split that I got for it. Um, all right, I wanted Yoel, Psycho Goat Ferguson. I wanted Yoel to win. I hope he wins the belt before he retires. Hey man, Yoel, of course a lot of people want Yoel to win, man. Yoel is one of those guys that, but he always does it to himself, man. He always does it to himself. So you could want him to win a title, but he missed weight twice. He could have had a title against Rockhold. He missed weight. Just like it, he never gets the breaks. He never gets those little lucky nuggets. You know what I mean? Like he never gets those. And that's what happened to Yoel. And I feel Yoel, there's nothing left for him in middleweight. He's fought everybody and he's lost 3 title fights now? 4 title fights? So it's like, what do you do? Where are you gonna go? Who are you gonna fight? Dana White is not very happy with you, and he's not gonna give you another title shot. So where are you gonna go? I say Yoel goes to light heavyweight. He don't have to cut the weight. You don't have to worry about that shit anymore. And I say he rebooked that Gustafsson fight because I believe Gustafsson and Romero was booked to fight not too long ago. All right, now next one. I bet $50 on JJ, but even though I lost, I won. Okay. Joanna and JJ is the best fight on the card. Oh, no doubt it was the best fight on the card. The best fight so far this year. Man, it was better than the Paul Felder Dan Hooker fight. Man, and that fight was fucking crazy. But yeah, that fight was the best fight of the year so far. There's no doubt. And the night before the Invicta main event, that shit was crazy too. But this one, yeah, this fight is fight of the year so far. DC said to punch her in the bubble. Yeah, you're right. What up? She was fighting a bantamweight. Who was fighting a bantamweight? Mizuki. Yeah, most likely. Tell us more about the Jay Park situation, man. All right, now let's go into that, right? Wait. But before we go into the Jay Park situation, what I want to do is I want to talk about the strawweight division, okay? Before I get into the J Park, because that shit is a long thing. Who does Weili fight, right? Now, Tatiana Torres, Tatiana Torres, she's injured, so she can't fight because that would be the logical pick. Who's next? Tatiana Torres, right? She needs to fight. She's the beast. She's kind of like the scariest. I feel like she's stylistically the scariest fighter in that division, but she can't fight. She's injured. Now you got a fight coming up. I think it's Nama Yunus and Andrade are fighting. Are they having a rematch? I believe. So if let's say Andrade wins, then Andrade is not going to fight rematch Weili, right? But if Rose wins, then I feel like that fight is going to happen. It's going to be Rose, but Rose has to beat Andrade. If Rose beats Andrade, Rose gets the rematch or gets the title shot. If Andrade beats Rose again, I feel like Rose or Andrade is not going to get the title shot. So let me go and check out who's on the list of these women. Let's see. Here we go. So Weili's number 1. Thorough, you got Andrade, Tatiana Torres, Joanna, Claudia can't fight her. Man, it's pretty much up for grabs, man. Like if Claudia, let's say Andrade wins her next fight against Rose, then I feel like Claudia beats Marina Rodriguez in her fight, they're gonna give Claudia the title shot. Okay, only fighters that could get a title shot right now is Claudia or Carla Esparza if she beats Michelle Waterson. And that would make it 3 wins in a row for Esparza. And she's on basically the next in line. Number one, Rose. If she loses to Andrade, who's number 3, or number 2 or whatever you want to call it, then that kills that. Suarez is out with the injury. Joanna just lost. Claudia is the next one. The Karate Hottie just lost. She can't get a title shot off one win. I don't think they'll give it to her. But Claudia, if she wins her next fight, that's 2 in a row. They could give her that title shot. So basically, it all depends on if Thug Rose beats Andrade, and then that's who we will see, in my opinion, for the next title shot. All right, now, Hibas, yeah, you got Hibas. Yeah, the status of yeah, Rose, you're right. You guys are right. Marina Rodriguez, if Rose loses, and Marina Rodriguez beats Claudia, that also could be a possibility too. If Rose, if she wins, what is it? Yeah, Hiba, she's one. Maybe a tune-up fight and then a title bid, also depending on Andrade. Yeah, there's a lot. It's very interesting, that strawweight division right now, because that Rose Namajunas versus Andrade fight, a lot of it hinges on that fight. Who wins that determines who's next, because of Suarez being out with the injury. Her neck is all fucked up, and it's crazy. I talked to Benil Dariush, right? He had a fucking crazy fight, right? On the pay-per-view. And when I interviewed him before this fight, he was telling me the reason why he was all fucked up and getting finished, and he had that rough patch, was because his neck was all fucked up for a while. So when your neck is fucked up, you could get knocked out easier. But now his neck is fine, back dandy, feeling great. He said, got it all fixed, and that's why he has this. That's why he's going on this resurgence. So, and you saw it in that fight. Close clocked him hard, and he ate it, and he came forward and was throwing those hammers, and then nobody finished close. Nobody has knocked him out. And Benil Dariush, like I said, I tweeted out, Benil is a finisher, Close is a mauler. It's hard to pick who wins that fight and who won the finisher, right? Now, Yan Jinan, yeah, she could be fighting for a title soon too, but that would be crazy, right? 2 Chinese girls fighting for the title. I don't know if that will happen. That's interesting. Um, uh, yeah, man. Darush was saying that he has to get treatment for his neck for the rest of his life, but his neck is good though. Like, he has to get this treatment, and that's why he can fight and be, and take the shots. Because yeah, he was taking those good shots. It's all about the neck, man. Like, a lot of the chin has to do with, is connected to the neck and how strong the neck is for some reason. Maybe it's because of the whiplash or whatever. Your Will said he would never move up in house. He fight between him and Jones. No, they're not. They would never fight each other. And plus, Jones would probably smash Yoel, but who knows? Fuck, they're not gonna fight. Anyways, okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk about the Jay Park situation, and then after that, if you guys got any questions about like Asian MMA or Asian fighters or whatever, because I want to kind of keep it with that theme, because a lot of people, they're doing live chats and they're doing Q&As, but it's all about the same thing. It's all about, oh, Jones, who's gonna fight Jones next? Who's Adesanya fighting next? And of course, that's fun to talk about, and I like to talk about it too. But I don't want to talk about what everybody else is talking about. I would like to talk about something that's, kind of niche, but still people are interested in it. So let's talk about the what is it? The Jay Park situation, right? So, all right, I'll get back to those questions later. All right, so Brian Ortega, right? During the Joanna's walkout, he goes over there, in the fighter section. And I don't know what the rules are about the fighter section. In the fighter section, are there only supposed to be fighters sitting there, or is it the fighters and their entourage, or is it their fighter and their guests? I don't understand that aspect. Or is this just supposed to be for fighters? But most likely it's supposed to be for fighters and their guests, right? So Brian Ortega, they're in the fighters section during the pay-per-view. He goes over there and slaps Jay Park allegedly, but I guess it's real because they filed a police report or whatever. Um, Now, where does this stem from? That's what everybody's, because you read the highlights, headlines right now, right? Um, and it says translator, right? Yeah, real snitch mob hitter, right? You said I think translators get a pass, right? I'm trying to give you guys a perspective. I'm trying to give you guys a perspective of like, I'm not trying to say this person is in the bad or this person did something negative. Um, well, there's some negativity there, right? But I'm not saying I'm siding with one person or the other. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm going to try to explain to you what actually escalated, right? But before I get into that, I want to go and bring up the post that the Korean Zombie put up today after the pay-per-view, after Jay Park got slapped, right? Um, so he puts up a picture on Instagram. It's him in the middle. It's Jason House from Iridium, his manager, and then there's Jay Park, right? They take a picture together, and next to that, it reads. Let me read it to you. Last night you must be Brian Ortega, sat 10 meters away from me and Jay Park. For 2 hours, nothing happened. So I thought everything was fine. But you fucking attacked Jay Park while I went to the bathroom. Jay Park is not a professional fighter, but a musician. I don't know if he's a musician. You slapped a civilian who merely helped translate. Even worse, you were sitting there waiting until I would be absent and attacked Jay Park. It was not a fight like real men would do. What you what you have done is same as a grown up to beat a child. You should have attacked me. If so, I would have not been upset. You are such a coward for slapping a musician, not a fighter. This, if you fucking planned this to fight me and used my name because people don't remember your name anymore, then I congratulate you. It worked. I will fight you and I will knock you out and your fucking face will be bloody. Now your fucking face stays in my mind and I will fuck you up in the cage. I hope you won't run away from me again. Okay. Now, number one, the zombie, I don't see him talking like this. I've never seen him ever speak in this way. Like he's and number two, it's written in perfect English. So somebody else wrote it for him. Okay, I don't know who wrote it for him. Um, so is this really him talking? Is this really him writing his text out, or is somebody translating what he's saying? Is he really saying fucking, and is he saying these words, right? That's a big question right there. That's a big question mark. Um, I know that most likely he's angry because his friend Jay Park got slapped, right, by Brian Ortega, and but I don't know if this is really uh the Korean Zombie writing this. That's confusing to me, right? His English is not this good, and and I just wonder who wrote this, right? The other funny part about this is there's a funny part. It says right here, what you have done is same as a grown up to beat a child. So basically, what the Korean Zombie is doing, he's comparing he's comparing Jay Park to a child, which is kind of fucked up, right? Like you never see the zombie this aggressive, this negative. You never heard him say any like curse words or anything like that. So it's like, is this really him? It's um a lot of people speculate like about like why is the zombie doing this? Okay, so that's it. Okay, now let's rewind all the way back to last year. last year, let's say, uh, maybe November, October, maybe October, September, October, right around that time. Okay, um, Brian Ortega. Okay, he puts up a post on Instagram. He says he's ready. He'll be ready in September or something like that. And then what the zombie does is he reposts it on his page and he says that in something to like he's ready too. And basically just calling out Brian Ortega. Not really talking shit, just calling him out like, you know, I'm ready too. Let's do something. So basically calling him out, right? So that's very uncharacteristic of the Korean zombie too. Have you ever heard him calling anybody out? Uh yeah, after that in Busan he said, I want Volkanovski, but that's very respectful. Like there's a different ways to call people out. There's like the way where, you know, uh, like the zombie did in Busan. He said, "I want Volkanovski." That's very respectful. Volkanovski's the champ. I want to fight him. Call him out. Great. That's the zombie. There's other guys, right? Like, fuck you. Like there's the Nate Diaz, right? He's like, you know, I want to fight your motherfucking ass, right? That's Nate Diaz. That's the other way of calling somebody out. Like you wanna fight them and shit, right? You wanna talk shit and bag them and and belittle them, right? And just go at them. So that's very uncharacteristic, right? Um, but in that post, it was just normal. He just called them out, right? So it's all good. Then it escalated, right? Like, did you sign the contract? So he was kind of like talking shit a little bit on IG. Um, yeah, he's just talking shit on IG, right? A little bit. They were going back and forth on IG, right? So after the back and forth happened, there was like he called him a chicken, and there's like a little bit of shit talking, a little bit on IG, and the fight was made. UFC Busan, right? In December. Um, Brian Ortega is gonna fly all the way to Korea to fight the Korean Zombie, and it was like, okay, Brian Ortega signed the contract. He's gonna fight Korean Zombie in his home country. It's a pretty big task, right? And props to him for taking that fight. Um, now, so that was the weird thing, right? The weird thing was the zombie was talking shit, right? A little bit on Instagram. Now, in November, Ortega comes to Korea for the press conference. Kind of like how they do for every event. They bring the main event for a press conference, and then they officially sell tickets and stuff. So I went to the media day, to the press conference, and what I interviewed Brian Ortega, and uh, and I asked him in the interview, and you could go back and watch the interview. Right, it was from last November. It was during the press conference. Um, it was during the interview. I asked him, "Hey, what did what did you think of like the zombie? Kind of like throwing shots at you on Instagram?" And he said, "This is what he said." He said, uh, "Is it was like he was kind of surprised. It was kind of a shock. It was uncharacteristic." And then he mentioned in the interview that he thought or somebody got in his head, that somebody was in his head. The zombie was in his head, or not, somebody was in the zombie's head and kind of got him hyped up. And it was Jay Park. He mentioned Jay Park, right? His manager. Because you guys gotta understand, Jay Park is the owner and CEO or whatever of AOMG. AOMG is like one of the companies that manages the Korean Zombie. Basically, what that company does is they manage like the business side and the entertainment side or whatever of the Korean Zombie in Korea. So that's why the Korean Zombie has been on like a few TV shows out here. Kind of to be able to grow his popularity in the country, right? And yeah, and he's like doing a very good job. Um, Very good job for him, right? Like promoting him and and pumping him up in Korea. Because to be honest with you, the Korean Zombie is popular in like the MMA circles, but really outside of that, nobody really knows who the Korean Zombie is. Maybe if I ask somebody, maybe like 3 out of 10 will know if I say the zombie, but I would have to say it like in Korean style, so they would understand. But anyways, yeah. So he mentions Jay Park in the interview, saying like, "Oh yeah, it's Jay Park." He was probably because so basically what Brian Ortega thought was that Jay Park was writing all the Instagram posts for the zombie because the zombie it was very uncharacteristic for him to kind of be throwing shots at him, right? Um, and so I guess you know Brian Ortega was all cool at the press conference because if you watch the press conference, um, they when they faced off, dude, they were like smiling and like hugging each other and shit. So there probably was no beef. So, that's what I thought. And then I remember one of the one of the uh like reporters or journalists or whatever, he asked um the Korean Zombie, like, hey, you were like throwing like shots at uh Brian Ortega on Instagram, that was kind of very uncharacteristic of you. And if you go back, you guys could go back and watch that press conference and listen to what the zombie said. Zombie said, I apologize to to Brian Ortega about that. He didn't, basically he apologized to him. You could go watch the the press conference. So basically he admitted that he apologized to him about the trash talk. Okay. Um, so the press conference is over. Brian goes back, starts his camp, or gets back to training for the fight, right? Um, and then what happened? Okay, Ortega, he gets injured. Okay, so he gets injured, and yeah, and he gets injured, and he's replaced by what is it? Frankie Edgar, and then the zombie goes in there, and you know what happened in that fight? Frankie Edgar got knocked out by the Korean Zombie. Korean Zombie calls out Volkanovski, and and there you go. It's just escalating now. So basically, Brian Ortega's out of the Korean Zombie's mind. He's focused on getting the Volkanovski fight, but the problem is he needs to have eye surgery. Volkanovski's hand is broken at that time, and that causes a lot of problems. So fast forward to a couple weeks ago, before UFC 248, uh, the Korean Zombie goes on the Helwani show, right? So on the Helwani show, you got the Korean Zombie, you got Eddie Cha sitting next to him, who is the striking coach and basically the head coach of the Korean Zombie, and then you got Jay Park and Errol Helwani, right? So if you watch the interview, Helwani is asking every question that like I would even ask, what I mean? Like, hey, what is this? What is that? Like he's asking good questions, right? Um Questions that people want to hear, right? The answers to. And and throughout the whole thing, Volk what is it? The Korean Zombie is not talking any kind of trash. He's not at all. He's saying like, "I love you. I want to fight you, Volkanovski." Like, "I love you." That's not trash talk at all, man. That's just how the Korean Zombie is. That he's not a trash talker. He's not none of that, right? Um, so what he's showing in like interviews is different from what he's writing on Instagram. That's what I'm trying to point out. Okay. Now, at the last part of that interview, um, Helwani asked him like, "What about Ortega?" And the Korean Zombie responded in Korean, but when Jay Park translated it, it wasn't a perfect translation. Like he didn't like what you could translate things many different ways. You could translate it like a perfect translation of what a person says, which means that you have to be a translator, and you can't say that um Jay Park is a translator because he's not. He doesn't. His Korean is not that good. If anybody knows Korean, like my Korean is not that good, but I could tell his is not that good. You know what I mean? Like if I could tell your Korean's not that good, that means your Korean probably sucks. Okay. But so when Korean Zombies responded, basically what the Korean Zombie said is, he said it in a nice way. Basically, he didn't say in Korean, Ortega already ducked me once. What he basically said was Ortega basically had his chance, or basically Ortega ran, ran. That's what he said. Ortega ran. So if you want to translate it into like some trash talk, then you could say he ducked me, right? But if you want to translate it into like a proper polite way, then you could translate it into he had his chance, basically. And that, like a lot of people are saying, I wrote on Twitter that he did a terrible job translating. The reason why I said that is because you got to put it into context of like who the Korean Zombie is. He doesn't trash talk, right? And he's and the whole interview, he's not trash talking any of it. And what's confusing to me is I don't understand why Jay Park was in the interview, because Eddie Cha could translate for him. If you watch MMA Junkie's interview with the zombie over last weekend, where they did it in the barbershop, and Eddie Cha was there next to him translating for the Korean Zombie when I don't know who's the guy, one of the guys from MMA Junkie was interviewing him. He did a phenomenal job, man. It wasn't like 100% perfect, but phenomenal job of what the Korean Zombie said and translating it directly over so everybody can understand. And and I don't understand why Jay Park was in that interview. Okay, so going back to the interview, um, so basically Jay Park said, translating what Korean Zombie said was like he ducked me or whatever, blah blah. And then Ortega writes on that post, when I saw him in Korea, saw him means like the Korean Zombie. He apologized and said sorry for the trash talk, and I said all good because at least you came at me like a man. Now, and then he wrote after that, now you just a bitch dog. Jay Park, welcome to the fight game. Don't be surprised if I slap the shit out of you if I see you. Having an injury and ducking are two different things. And that's true, man. Having an injury and ducking are two different things. Park responded, don't shoot the messenger slash translator. Can't blame the man for trying to shake shit up and get a title shot. Plus, he got the performance to back it up. Respect to you for pulling up to Korea for the press, but it's Team Zombie all day. I don't even know why Jay Park even wrote anything back to him. That's very confusing to me. Um, yeah, it's so confusing right there, right? So he wrote that post, and then what just happened? Okay, what did just happen? Okay, Jay Park. Listen to what Jay Park went to the UFC, basically probably knowing that Brian Ortega is going to be there, and expected nothing to happen with Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega said, "I'm gonna slap you whenever I see you." If you know anything about Brian Ortega, he was like a street kid. Like he's from the streets. Like, you know, one thing about Brian Ortega, he has a good image. Well, he had a good image. Korean Zombie also had a good image or has a good image. Um, but Brian Ortega, he's from the streets. You seen the Modelo commercial? He made a choice. Everybody loves saying that Modelo commercial about Brian Ortega. He had a choice. Well, he did have a choice, and he went over there and slapped Jay Park. Now, should he have gone over there and slapped Jay Park? No. Now this causes a whole another problem, right? But is it good to build the fight off of it? Yes. Um, does everybody want to see Brian Ortega fight the Korean Zombie now? Yes, but everybody wanted to see that fight anyways. There was no reason to go over there and slap Jay Park. There was no reason to do that. The fight builds itself. On the flip side, too, the Korean Zombie, let's say it is him writing the IG post. The thing is, he doesn't have to do that either. The Korean Zombie doesn't need, he's in that like special position as a fighter to where all he needs to do is fight and he's going to get the fights that lead him to a title. He doesn't have to talk no shit. He has never even talked English before. He's basically like a like Anderson Silva, where he just wins fights, and then they're going to give him the fights to get to the title and get to the belt. And that's what basically the Zombie was in that position where it's a special position, man. Like, not everybody could get into the position where you only fight and you win and you get to the title. Like Volkanovski, he was in that position. He didn't talk really nothing, no shit. He just came out and said, I could beat these guys. Give me anybody, I'll beat them, and I'll get the title shot. That's what happened with Volkanovski. Zombie was in that same position. I don't understand like why Zombie is talking shit. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. He doesn't need to be like a Colby Covington or a Conor McGregor. He needs to be the Korean Zombie. And man, Brian Ortega shouldn't have slapped Jay Park. But the funny thing is, Jay Park, why is he going on the Ariel Helwani show tomorrow or today or whenever? Like, I don't understand that. Why, if you got slapped, if you're involved in an altercation, are you trying to milk it now? Is Jay Park trying to milk the situation now by going on Ariel Helwani show? I thought he's already famous. Like, why would you go on Ariel Helwani show? Why won't you go on like TMZ or some shit like that? Like, if you look at it from the Ariel's perspective, of course you want him on your show. Of course you want to ask him all the questions. You want to get the news. You want to get the details, right? But if you're in Jay Park's position, just go live your life, man. Why would you want to be involved in this? It doesn't make any sense for you to go on the Ariel Helwani show and probably say something you're going to regret, right? It's probably going to say something that is not true, and I don't understand that. Like, why would you do that? Why would you continue to egg on somebody? Because that's what he's probably going to end up doing. He's gonna push the buttons. Brian Ortega, he's gonna push Brian Ortega's buttons even more. And I don't know, man. It's very, very odd what's going on in this world, man, of MMA with the Korean Zombie. But hey, look at what's gonna happen. June 6th, UFC pay-per-view in Perth, Volkanovski, Max Holloway 2 is happening. Zombies scheduled to come back in July or August. Guess who he's gonna fight? Brian Ortega. Either it's gonna be a co-main event on a pay-per-view, or it's gonna be a main event for a fight night. That's what you're gonna see. And it's gonna be a big seller. It's gonna be a big seller. I don't know. I think they're gonna put it on a pay-per-view. I feel like they're gonna put that on a pay-per-view where they could do a countdown and the embeddeds and all that stuff. So I don't know exactly what's scheduled for what is it? For see, like for August and July. Oh, July 12th is UFC 252. So could they put this fight on UFC 252? Maybe. Why not? Right? It could be possible. Why not? So okay, so let's go to some of the comments and the questions and see what happens. Like, I try to explain it, the best I can. I probably missed some stuff, but one thing that I want to say before I, you know, move on from this is Brian Ortega should have never slapped Jay Park. And if it is true, if Jay Park is writing the Instagram for the Korean Zombie and kind of like inflating what the zombie wants to say to talk trash, or if Jay Park is in his ear telling him, hey man, you need to be like this, you need to be like that, and this is how you're going to become more famous and blah blah blah, that's terrible advice by Jay Park. And if the Korean Zombie is taking that advice, that's, I don't know why would you take advice from a singer? I don't know. Like, what does he know about fighting or the fight game, right? um Now let's go here. What is it? I never heard of Jay Park prior to this. I'm honest. Yeah, a lot of people probably don't know who Jay Park is, man. Like, if you're not into like K-pop and stuff, you don't know, right? Zombie should be minus 300 favorite over Ortega. That's true. Maybe 150. That's true. No way minus 300. I'll take Ortega all day. Anything above plus 200. All right. Zombie Volkanovski is the fight everybody wants. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I would like to see it. And of course, the zombie wants it. But I don't, I feel like Volkanovski, he wants to take out. Um, this is what I feel about Volkanovski. I think Volkanovski, the reason why he wants to fight Max is because he wants to finish Max. He wants to finish Max and then put the stamp on it. Like, I feel like he hears too many voices of people saying, "Oh, that fight was close," and that you didn't finish him. And I feel like Volkanovski is gonna go in there, a different Volkanovski against Max, finish him, and then he'll get to um, the zombie. What is it? Jay Park seems like an instigator. Maybe. Who knows, man? I don't know exactly. We don't know the full story, right? Like, every time, when you hear something, there's three sides. There's their side, the other side, and the real side, right? We don't know what the side is. And in this one, there's four sides. There's Brian Ortega's side, there's Jay Park's side, there's the zombie side, and then the real side, the real story. We don't know what that is. Rapper persona aside, Jay mad chill though. Okay, I don't know who that is. Well, I guess. I hope he don't instigate. That's another thing that you're right. Real snitch mob hitter. I hope he doesn't instigate during the interview. Also, man, I hope he just. I don't understand why he's going to do that interview. I don't understand that. Okay, I don't think Dana said that he had no intention of booking Brian versus after the brawl. No, I think Dana wants to book that fight. Like, I think they were going to book that fight no matter what, because Brian Ortega wasn't going to fight Zabit. I think that fight had been pulled, or they never gonna. I think Zabit, something happened with Zabit, right? He said that he's not fighting on that UFC. From business perspective, Jay owns OMG, and they are going into sports entertainment with KKZ. So more hype equals more tension. So more money. Don't forget Eric. Don't forget Cedric. You're right. He is going into the business of sports entertainment. Yes, more attention equals more money, and that's what Brian Ortega was talking about in that interview back in November. He said that his management company got in his ear and is kind of pumping him up and kind of egging him on to talk trash and go at other fighters, and which is uncharacteristic. And that's true, man. You don't see the zombie doing that, man. So I don't know. I don't understand uh who's behind this. Is this what the zombie wants to do? Or think about it like this. Has the zombie been this way the whole time, but we just didn't know that because or you guys didn't know that, or nobody knew that because he just didn't say anything? And because, to be honest with you, if he was out there like during the post fight interviews, like cursing in Korean, like and calling people out in Korean and stuff, then I would have been like, yeah, that's fucking that's crazy right there. I like that. I like that. I like the zombie like that. You know what I mean? But he's not like that. He doesn't do that. Like, he says, I want Volkanovski. Like, how that's just the nicest way of saying anything, right? Um, it's weird, man. So, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about like Jay Park? Do you think Jay Park should he do that interview? Do you feel like he should not do the interview? You know what I mean? Like, what do you think the motive behind the interview is with Ariel? I don't know. To be honest with you, I wish the zombie would come on, not Jay Park. I wish the zombie would come on and have zombie talk and explain. Why would you have somebody else speak for you? I don't think Dana would want to book Zabit versus Zombie over Brian versus Zombie, since Brian already had a shot. I think Brian should fight Yair. Yeah, Zabit and Zombie's not gonna happen. Uh, Brian and Ortega and the Zombie, that's the fight to make. I don't think Brian's gonna fight Yair. I don't think Yair will fight Brian either. I don't think two Mexicans are gonna fight each other. But I don't think they're gonna do Zombie Yair 2. The fight to make is it's clear now. One thing that we know 100% after this incident at UFC 248 is that the fight to make is Zombie versus T City. That's it. We know. We know what's gonna happen. If they don't make that fight, it's like, you know, what's the point of even fucking doing all this then? You know? What's the point? Why did they even do it? Why did Jay Park supposedly Instagram? Okay. How big is Jay Park where you are at? Jay Park is a K-pop. He comes from the K-pop. So if he has 4 million Instagram followers, you guys know how big K-pop is. How many millions and millions and millions of people follow K-pop? He used to be part of like one of the biggest groups in K-pop. So if you're part of one of the biggest groups in K-pop, of course there's going to be a lot of, you know, 12-year-olds and 15-year-olds and 18, 17-year-olds following you, right, on Instagram. It's just the reality of K-pop. Like I live in Korea, but I don't really follow K-pop, but it's everywhere. And sometimes you get glimpses of what's going on, right? But other than that, I'm not like following it. But I know who Jay Park is. Jay is huge in Korean hip hop scene, and in the US, he signed to Jay-Z's label. Just because he signed to Jay-Z's label doesn't mean shit. Like, you know, Jay-Z's like 50 years old, dude. Like, he owns bigger hip hop label in Korea. Yeah. I heard he owns a hip hop label in Korea. Um, he's huge in the Korean hip hop scene, but is he like is he a rapper? Does he, I thought he was a singer, but does he rap? I don't know. Like some of his songs I've heard and they don't sound that bad. You know what I mean? Like they just, it's just songs. J Park cannot do anything for the situation apart from make it worse. He's an UFC fighter, so it's not like he's gonna fight Brian, and it's not like Zombie is gonna be in the interview with Jay Park. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the Zombie's gonna be with him though. Like I think that could be a huge, huge possibility. Yeah, I agree with you though. I feel like Jay Park, he's not gonna do nothing to benefit the situation. I think he's gonna make it worse for everybody. What is it? No cons to doing interview, more drama, sell the fight. Yeah, it's just gonna sell the fight. That's true. That's the only positive thing I think is gonna happen off that interview. Is gonna sell the fight, but it's also gonna bring more uh, negative, aspects, or I don't know what. I wouldn't just like. I'm not gonna stay up and watch the interview, but I'm just interested in seeing like him explain what exactly happened, because it almost seemed, like the way that they explain what happened is like they knew that Brian Ortega waited for the Zombie to go to the bathroom. Like, is that right? I don't know. Is that really true? Like, did he wait for the Zombie? Like, I don't understand. Like, is that what really happened? Like, tomorrow you'll find out during the interview, right? That he's gonna explain. Um, but it sucks to see Brian Ortega get escorted out and kicked out the arena, and then like, I don't know. It's weird. Some of the stuff that's happened in that situation has been completely, completely weird. Um, what else is there? Yeah, man. One thing that's clear is that Ortega and the Zombie, we should fight, or not we should fight, but they should fight each other. That's the clearest as day. Now, anything else? Ever interview a fighter and they were not friendly or rude? Um, I don't know if they're like friendly or rude, but like I felt like sometimes uh I have interviewed a fighter where they didn't feel like they wanted to be interviewed. And then I kind of blame it on myself though, because like I feel like I'm the one who should try to bring the mood or create the mood to have a good interview, and to bring questions to create the questions that will allow the fighter to be interested in doing it. But yeah, man, I don't know. There have been some times where I was like, man, am I fucking up? Like in my mind, like during the interviews, like, am I fucking up? Like, why are they not like elaborating on things or but not like rude though. I don't know if it's like rude though. Maybe a little bit, right? Maybe I asked something, but to me, like I kind of try to toe the line during interviews. Like I trying to like toe the line, which means like I want to ask the questions that need to be asked, but I also want to kind of talk about things that they would probably like to talk about, right? And kind of toe the line and ask them in a way where it doesn't like where I'm like not like trying to target them as like a like try to make them a victim or something, or like to try to make them look in any way negative, in the interview. Um, but but I try to like I think there has to be some uh some buttering up to do, before you do those things, stuff like that. So I always try to find that. But yeah, uh friendly, not friendly, rude. I kind of feel it sometimes, but then sometimes it's in my head. Like I'm thinking that, and then I watch the interview again, and it's like it's not even like that bad of an interview. Well, I think all my interviews are bad, like most of the time. But then but the way that I feel like it afterwards in my mind, it's not that bad, right? Even though it's like not the best. Like I always think like, I'm fucking up because I'm the interviewer. Like I'm trying to ask the questions, and I feel like I fumble on the questions sometimes and stuff like that. But practice make perfect, man. I just gotta keep doing it. Next question is: are you going to interview Cho Sung Bin with the PFL season starting soon? I'm gonna try to. I got a guy that kind of comes on and helps me with like translations and stuff. So uh it's always good for me to like speak English and then have him in between in Korean, and then Jo Sung Bin speaks. And I've been trying to do that lately with more Korean fighters. So this year, like every year I try to do more of Korean fighters, the Asian fighters as much as I can. It's hard sometimes because some of them they don't have translators, and especially like fighters from other countries that don't speak their language or they don't speak English, right? Uh, Doing those questions, what is it? Yeah, getting those interviews done. It takes a lot more. And then there's a lot of fighters that they don't want to do interviews. You reach out to them and they're not interested at all. I'm happy to see Pretty Boy soon. Yeah, Jo Sung-bin, he's been working hard though, man. He moved teams. So now he's with Stun Gun's team, which is Stun Gun, right? Kim Dong-yeon, UFC welterweight, former UFC welterweight. Supposedly retired now. He's on his team. They have a pretty big team now with a bunch of good fighters, a decent coach, and then they're just creating this atmosphere at their gym. And then now they're starting to do a lot of cross training with a Korean top team. So they're doing training with them. So that means he gets some training with like Park Jun-young and Chung Daeun and some of the up and coming guys over there at Korean Top Team. They do a lot of what is it? Training together, team trainings together. So it's good to see that too, man. It's good to see like the Korean teams, even though they're different teams, they come together, they train, they spar together, and grow together. And Stun Gun retired. I don't. It's hard to say, man. Like it seems like it. Like it doesn't seem like he's gonna fight. Dude. He's like super famous right now in Korea. I'm serious. Like he's on like 50 different um TV programs. He's like he trains his fighters. He's so busy, man. Like he's very successful. Like there would be no reason for him to come back and fight. He's proven a lot. So soon to see TSG Team Stun Gun collab with KTT. Yeah, it's good to see. Yeah, Stun Gun retired. Yeah, but if Alex beats Max again, do you think UFC would rather boo? What is it? Rather Zombie versus Zabit, since they would want to clear number one. Zabit got the hype, but no, I don't think that they would want to clear number one. I would think they want two options, right? Two options. You got Zabit option one, you got Zombie option two, or Zombie option one, Zabit option two. It's always better to have two options than have a clear number one. That's in my opinion. I don't think like, oh, this is the clear number one. I don't think that there's ever, that's ever a good thing, because why? That clear number one could get injured, could pull out, whatever. You need to have a backup, which is another option. He dodges that retirement question on TV. Yeah, yeah. What, you're watching the Korean TV? Don't forget Cedric. You must be watching Korean TV then. I don't watch it. I just know he's on there, and he's like a big goof. But yeah, people love him. I didn't know he was big in Korea. Good for him. Yeah, it's good for him, man. He's making a lot of money, dude. Like, he's so busy. He's probably one of the busiest people in show business right now on TV, just doing all kinds of shows, like just random variety shows, and yeah, man. And it's almost like he could help like all his fighters become famous too, because he does the YouTube channel too, and he puts all his fighters on the YouTube channel, so they get exposure, with the regular Korean audience, because the stun gun is famous with like regular people in Korea, not like the fight fans. Like, he's on TV, regular TV. So, what is that book? So what else, man? What other uh, MMA? Rizin. You want to talk about Rizin? You want to talk about one championship? Like, one championship just canceled. What is it? Heart of Heroes in Vietnam, which is supposed to happen, I think, next weekend. They just canceled that because of the coronavirus. Um, Jakarta is actually the next show after that, but Jakarta is not really hit by the corona, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. After that, it will be KL. He adds his fighters to commercials. He does too. Yeah, man. Yeah, Cedric knows a lot about Korean shit, man. Um, well, one championship. Any questions about that, man? You got you got the Vietnam show canceled. That was supposed to be next week. Then you got next month. You have what is it? The Jakarta show, which is that Infinity one with Demetrius Johnson versus Adriano Moraes. Um, then you got KL after that. I heard KL could possibly be one of those closed events. Um, what happened to Maximo Blanco? Remember him? I don't know what happened to Maximo Blanco, man. Like, I have no idea. Um, maybe I should ask his manager. I have some contact with his manager, so maybe I should ask him. Or I don't know if it's his manager anymore, but maybe his former manager. Uh, Maybe he has a clue of what happened to Maximo Blanco. Let me see. Oh, another news is the Korean featherweight. What's his name? Chesungwoo, or Sungu Choi, right? He left his team, so now he's looking for a team. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. He's still signed to the UFC. Do you think UFC should make an atomweight division, since Michelle Watterson used to be one and Sohyam is one, and there are a lot of popular atomweights out there? Stanford. Well, the thing is, like, with the atomweight division, there's a lot of popular atomweights in the world, right? And a lot of atomweights that could fight. But if you look at the Invicta atomweight division, just look at that, and it shows you that it probably won't work in the UFC. Um, there are a lot of, like, there is Sahi Ham, or Ham Sahi, but she's fighting for Rizin. She's not gonna go to the UFC. Stanford, she fights for fucking one championship. One championship got exclusive deal with Stan Fairtex. Hamza, she got exclusive deal with Road FC and Rizin. Michelle Watterson is the only one that can make the atomweight division. Come on, like, what? Who's gonna fight in atomweight division? You got what's her name, Jinyu Fry, right? But she just missed weight on her title fight and then won the title fight, and right now there's no champion. Um, I don't know. I don't see an atomweight coming together. If they could get all those atomweights, like if they could get, like, if one championship didn't exist and all those atomweights could actually go to one championship, yes. Combine one championship atomweights with the Invicta atomweights, maybe you can make a division. But I don't see many UFC girls that are training or that are fighting at strawweight dropping down to atomweight. You got Michelle Watterson, and then you got what's her name? Uh, Loma Lookboomy. She could probably go down, but come on. Do you think UFC? Where is it? Where's it? Oh, do you think? What do you think about Do Choice opening his own gym in Daegu? He can't teach head movement. Well, hey, what the fucked up part about him opening his own gym in Daegu? Daegu is the city where the coronavirus blew up in Korea, right? Basically, it was the Wuhan of Korea. That's where like 90% of the people infected with the virus are in Daegu. So like outside of Daegu, there's not really a problem in Korea with the coronavirus. It's just mostly in Daegu, and his gym is in Daegu, and he opened it like right before the virus blew up in the city. So basically, his gym is fucked. Like, who's gonna go train in a city infected with this virus? Think about it. And it's still crazy right now. Like most of the people infected are in that city, and they're in hospitals there. So, yeah, Do Choi, of course, he could teach people shit. That he's a fucking UFC fighter, right? But like, his gym might not even last very long because of what happened, right? Economically, it's Tegu's in some big trouble, man, because they had to shut down everything. Um, you see Myungho Bae, yeah, Myungho against the Russian in 1 week. Yeah, I saw it, of course, man. Bae Myungho, he's not the same fighter he used to be. He hasn't gotten better. Let's just say that. He hasn't gotten better than he was 5 years ago. He's still the same fighter from 5 years ago that he is now. That means whoever he's fighting now is probably younger, faster, quicker, just as skilled or more skilled than him. What's going to happen? Reality check. That's what's going to happen. So I hope this fight gave him the reality check to go back and fucking train hard and long and just come back with a vengeance, because I'm pretty sure one champion is going to give him a bunch of fights. But he can't come like he did last time. It's just he's just going to get crushed by everybody. Does UFC ever come back to fighters after cutting them? Yeah, of course. They do it, Look, Eric Spicely. I just interviewed Eric Spicely. He got cut. He just got re-signed. His last fight was Fight of the Night with Deron Win. There's a bunch of think about the Contender Series. There's a bunch of guys that lost in the Contender Series, and then they went to the regional scene, won a couple fights, and then they got signed, by the UFC. There's guys that fought in the Contender Series, one didn't get a contract, went back and won one fight, and then the UFC picked them up. So, of course, like if they do well in other promotions, will the UFC come knocking? Of course, man. No worries. Shincheonji. Yeah, Shincheonji. Yeah, Shincheonji is the church. The church, the cult church that they also have a church in Wuhan, and then they went to Wuhan like the beginning of last month or the month before that, and then that's how they got the virus, and then they brought it back to um Daegu, and then they went to the church, and the church is like, I guess their church is like they like to like hug each other and hold arms, and that's how they like praise the Lord and all that stuff. And of course, if you're doing that, you're gonna spread that virus, and then just boom, that's what happened in Korea. That church is the one that's the, the main culprit of, and they did a bunch of other shit. But I don't want to get into that. Yair got cut before, and Rumble Johnson got cut before, and both exactly, right? Those are good examples, right? Yair and Rumble. What do you think about Deron Win? Deron Win is, I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like he should be a middleweight. Yeah, you're right. Deron Win could be a problem at welterweight. That you're right. He kind of reminds me of Kelvin Gastelum for some reason. Like, but Kelvin Gastelum, but he would do better. Kelvin Gastelum's doing better at middleweight, but I think Deron Win would be doing better at welterweight. I think he would be a problem too. I agree with you. Yeah, Deron Win, he wouldn't be that bad. Should Rizin and ONE FC do cross promotion events like Bellator and Rizin? No, there's no reason to. They're both from the same region. They're both in Asia. Why would two Asian promotions do cross promotions? And plus, from my, I think they hate each other. Um, I don't know if they hate each other. Maybe I'm just making that up. But yeah, there's no reason to. Rizin is killing it in Japan. One Championship is killing it in Southeast Asia. Um, there's no reason for them to do cross promotions. It was clear when One Championship went to Tokyo and did all those like big shows that they were not interested in doing cross promotions with Rizin at all. Um, Win missed weight at middleweight before too. Yeah, of course he missed weight. Yeah, Win is well. If you watch his interview with Errol Hawani, he says that he hates weight cutting and blah blah. But man, if you want to be in the UFC, if you want to be one of the best in the world, you got to get a dietitian. You got to get a a nutritionist, somebody, right? Shout out to my boy, the fight dietitian, out there in Australia, doing big things out there. Shout out to him. Um, if you don't know who he is, go check out that embedded UFC 248 embedded. I think it's like number 6, and he comes out on there. A guy that like I interviewed like a year ago, and he was just doing local fighters, and now he's doing champions in the UFC. Incredible, incredible story, man. Shout out to Jordy, man, fight dietitian. Um, Pretty cool to see Weili as a champ. Her fight in TFC feels like yesterday. Yeah, man, I was there. I was there at TFC. I was there live. I was covering that show, TFC. And when you saw her, and I knew about her before she came and fought in TFC, uh, killing it in Kunlun, and her carrying around like a bunch of belts and shit, man. It was incredible watching her. And another thing incredible of watching her live in Korea and getting that title. And I'm gonna be honest with you, her opponent was she didn't have many fights. She was pretty green, so everybody expected that to happen. It was more of a big opportunity for the girl that was fighting her. But that girl that fought her, now she's a much better fighter, much all around better fighter, and I expect her to be in the UFC pretty soon. Uh, Soyedam, that's her name. But yeah, you'll see her in the next year or two fighting in the UFC. I think she's a strawweight. But yeah, Weili beat her, and then when she fought, Andrade, I was there in China and Shenzhen for that fight too, and during the usually in the UFC, when the co-main and main events fight, like in the back, usually when I'm covering shows, I'm in the back for like UFCs or Rizins or whatever. I'm in the back in the press room and I'm doing the interviews, right? But when the main event and co-main event happen, uh, those fighters are automatically put at the post-fight press conference. So basically, the press room is shut down. So once the third to last fight finishes and that fight comes back and does their post-fight interviews, then it's over. Like after that, it's the post-fight interview after the main event. So I run out to the side. I run out to the cage, to the octagon, and it was just in time for Weili and Andrade. So lucky that I got to watch that shit like cage side, and got to watch her live cage side twice. And shit, this fight would have even been better to watch cage side. It was nuts. Yeah, Win is like 5'6". Yeah, he's small. Would you have Cody McKenzie on the show? Yeah, why not? What's he doing? I don't even know if he's fighting anymore. Yeah, man, I'm open to have anybody on the show that I could ask questions and that's interesting to talk to. Most fighters are interesting to talk to. The reason why is, um, what is it? Because man, everybody has a story, like, and I want to listen to the fighters' stories, man. Every fighter has a story. If they want to talk about it and reveal their story, I would love to talk to any fighter. That's why I'm starting to do like these like young fighters, with like 1, 2, 3 fights. You know what I mean? Because it's like you never know who those fighters are gonna be. Like, Mohammed, Mohammed Makayev. He's like he's probably the best amateur fighter in the world. I didn't even know who he was until last year when I was in Phuket and I was interviewing a bunch of prospects in Phuket. and someone told me, "Hey, you need to interview this kid, Mohammed. He's like the best, man." And then I was like, oh, I don't even know who he is. And and I was just like, okay. So I interviewed him, and then later I found out, man, he's like one of the best in the world. He's like a young version of what's his name? Uh Habib. He's like a young version of Habib. And just like, man, I hope he does become huge, man. Because he's everybody talks so highly of him. So we'll see what happens. I'm treating you to dinner if you're ever in the US for a fight. Oh, I appreciate that, man. Um, James Lynch wouldn't have Mackenzie on the show. Why would James Lynch not have Mackenzie on the show? I don't know. Maybe it's not, you can't have everybody on the show, man. Sometimes, sometimes I try to get people on the show, it just doesn't work out. You know, there's a lot of struggles of being a person trying to get interviews, all the time. There's a lot of struggles with that. Um, it's, I like maybe with me, I live all the way on the other side of the world. So, um, finding the perfect time, matching up the time. If they ever want to do an interview like in the afternoon, it's almost impossible for me because it's like 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning over here. And I need to get my beauty sleep, man. Like, I gotta stay young and shit. You know what I mean? But what is it? Yeah, so that's the struggles of interviews. Sometimes it doesn't work out. I'm pretty sure he has a good reason why he doesn't have him on the show. If he does not have him on the show, what's the next event you are going to cover? Um, the next event I'm going to cover is hopefully that Infinity show in Jakarta with Demetrius Johnson and Adriano Moraes. I've never met Demetrius Johnson. I've never interviewed Demetrius Johnson, so I would love to go there, meet him in person, interview him. Uh, yeah, like it's all about interviewing the guys you know that are the greatest, the legends, man. Like the last the last legend I got to interview, Frankie Edgar, man. When he came to Korea, fought the zombie, interviewed him, man. That was a pleasure. um yeah, I would love to interview Demetrius Johnson, man. That's the next show I'm targeting to attend and cover in Jakarta. And I've never been to Jakarta, so it's kind of cool to get to go to a new city. um Next, Yoon Chang-min from Team Stun Gun seems to be doing well in one. In case you'd like to interview him. Oh yeah, of course, I would like to interview him. You know, I will interview any Korean fighters. You know what I mean? Like if they want to interview, I would interview any of them. Man, they're all like, you know, they're they're all open invitations to Korean fighters. As long as they have something to talk about, and long as they have a fight coming up or something. What happened with Meng Bo? She has been quiet since fighting Lauren Balin in ONE FC and doesn't. I'm curious about her since she's saying so lost. Yeah, Meng Bo. I don't know, man. Like, she seems like she's always getting injured. Yeah, she was supposed to fight Mei Yamaguchi like a bunch of times, and she just pulls out because of injuries. So Meng Bo, man, a crazy story. Not even a crazy story, just a funny thing, right? Last time I was in Phuket, uh, uh, there was a Chinese girl training, right? And I was just looking at her like, man, I've seen her before somewhere. And she's there and she's moving around and she's just like, she's a beast, right? She's just like, just flying around everywhere and shit, right? And then I was just thinking like, man, where have I seen her? And I was just like, and I'm just looking at her like she probably was creeped out by me or something. I don't know. But I was looking at her because she was training and shit. And it wasn't like even one day because I was there, I was there for like 10 days or something. So I would go to training and watch the fighters train. And and the whole time it was Mengbo. Like I was just like, who's this Chinese girl? Like she's fucking beasting and shit on the mats, right? And it was Mengbo the whole time. I didn't even know. Um, Mackenzie and I follow each other on Instagram. I'm going to ask him. He's full time fishing boat now. Oh yeah, man, that'd be a cool story, man. Like talk to Mackenzie. Oh, is he on the Alaskan fishing boats? I used to have a friend that used to go to Alaska on those fishing boats from Washington State. I think Mackenzie's from Washington State, right? So maybe he's on those fishing boats. Yeah, like a lot of you guys don't know, like I didn't grow up, but I lived many years. Basically, grew up like uh near Tacoma, Washington. So like for maybe like 8 years or so, I lived there, Tacoma, Washington. I lived uh, in Aberdeen, Maryland for a while when I was really young. I lived in near Savannah, Georgia. I lived in California. I lived in Miami for a year. Yeah, a bunch of places in the States when I was growing up, just moving around and shit. Yeah, I like the Deadliest Catch Boats. Yeah, I've heard of the show, but I never seen it. What's up, JK96? What's good, man? You got a question? Come on, man. I don't know if the questions keep coming. I'm gonna keep going, man. I think I got about 30 minutes until I gotta hit the sack. You know what I mean? But keep the questions coming if you guys got anything. Rising questions. You moved around a lot growing up. Yeah, moved around a lot. Like moved around mostly just Korea, just living in Korea and the States, but moved around the States a lot. You ever been to NYC? Yeah, when I was like really young. I used to live near Baltimore, Maryland, in Aberdeen, Maryland. So like I went all along the East Coast, but that was when I was like a little kid. You know what I mean? Washington D.C. was a nice place. Didn't live too far from there. I was a Washington Redskins fan. Like this is when like, I think Doug Williams. If you guys are old enough to remember that, Doug Williams. If you watch football, NFL, Doug Williams. I thought Lee Jingliang. Yeah, he fucked up. He did fuck up. That's like there was no game plan. Did you hear his corner? See, that's another problem with translations because his corner said something to him, and then the person that translated it said, "Hit him harder." Like, is that what the corner really said? Because that's terrible advice, right? You gotta think. I thought he would have fought Magny like how Santiago did against Magny. That's what I'm saying, man. I thought the Leech would have threw bombs. You think the Leech can fight at 150? No, he's too big, man. He's too big for 155. Um, yeah, I don't think he'll make 155. But nowadays, with these like dietitians and nutritionists and stuff, dudes can make weight, man. Like if dudes have like a couple months or like a good fight camp to lean down and stay lean and control their diet and train properly, a lot of these guys can make some weights, man, like and healthy too, not even cutting much. Um, I've been talking to a lot of these uh nutritionists too, man, like the ones that um take care of like some of the biggest fighters in the world, and they're telling me some interesting things. And a lot of those guys are studying like they're reading up on a lot of studies that are going around in like universities about like nutrition and diet and weight cutting and stuff, and all these things are new, but it's happening. You sure? It seems like he can. Song Kinan looks way bigger than Lee. Yeah, who knows, man? But the thing is, one guy might look bigger and the other guy, you know, could make the weight. It's hard to say. Should should get Clay Collard on the show. He just did boxing fights and is entering next PFL tournament. Yeah, Clay Collard. I'll keep that in mind, man. I'm trying to reach out to him, see what is happening. The thing about PFL, man, like I always forget when it's happening because like once it comes up, it's like boom, it's already coming up. So I just forgot. Yeah, so this year I'm gonna try to get more of the PFL guys on. Uh, yeah, I would love to do that. Scored a big upset in boxing. Anything else on? Yeah, man. So it's gonna be very interesting with this Clay Collard versus Max Holloway was a war. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even see that fight. Does that happen? Is that real? Is this before he got signed to the UFC, or did this happen in the UFC? I don't remember that fight. Like I have like stoner memory. Like I don't remember everything. But let's see what happens. Okay. Man, I'm interested. Is Valentina low-key ducking Zhang? She keeps shutting down a fight with Zhang and saying she 4 times, but Valentina's division isn't that competitive. I don't think, I don't think Valentina's ducking anybody, dude. I think Valentina will fight anybody, but somebody, um, somebody that is deserving. Because I don't know. She's kind of right. Valentina's kind of right. She needs to defend that belt. There's a lot of contenders in that division uh, that she has to beat, and I think Valentina's comfortable, and she feels like she needs to beat a lot of the girls in her division first. A lot of people are like, "Oh, Valentina's division," like you said, her division isn't that competitive. I don't think so. I think a lot of people are underestimating the other girls, and Valentina just looks so dominant. But I feel like Valentina has a lot of girls that she can fight in the division, and let her fight it. Why? A lot of people are like, "Why are you chasing super fights?" And then when people want to fight fighters in their division, why are you fighting everybody? It's not that competitive. Come on, you got to make a choice, right? You got to make a choice. Do you want to see super fights or do you want to see fighters? I like both, man. Whatever, do what you want to do. I'm interested in it, right? Uh, do people deserve certain things? Yes. Do people not deserve certain things? Yes. But with Valentina, I feel like she needs to beat some girls in her division. So does Weili, and then we could talk about that probably next year if it happens. If they're both champions next year, I think they could do it. What got you into covering MMA? I don't know. Nobody was covering MMA in Asia, or not many people were. So I was just like, I looked it up and said, or what websites are there for Asian MMA? And there was one Asian MMA site, AsianMMA.com. So I wrote them an email, said like, hey, you guys want somebody to write for your company or for the website? Would you be interested in let me do it? I did it. What was the first event that I did? Stun Gun versus Tyron Woodley, UFC Macau. That's the first event that I wrote anything about. Before that, I was watching all the fights though. Um, it was Clay was still in the UFC. Clay fought Holloway in his debut on a week's notice. Fuck, it's crazy. But Roxanne Modafferi is number 5 with a record of 23-17, and is next in line for a title shot. I have to call it. Yeah, Roxanne should probably get the title shot. She's beaten some of the better girls in that division. Why not? You know what I mean? She's 23-17. Who cares? She's fucking 23-17. God damn. And she's 37 years old. Man, you better give her a title shot before she's fucking in the old folks' home. You know what I mean? Give her the shot, after Calderwood. The interesting part is Calderwood and Modafferi are managed by the same person. They both have the same manager. So I wonder what that means. I wonder what happened there. But yeah, Calderwood, she definitely deserves the next title shot. And if she loses, I could see Roxanne. And there's a story there. Who did Roxanne beat? Her sister, Antonina. There's a story right there. Give her up right there. And I think if she beats Roxanne, then they need to start building these younger girls up. Like Macy Barber, man. She shouldn't have lost to Roxanne. I think if Macy Barber would have won, they would have gave Calderwood the next fight, and they would have lined up Macy Barber for the fight after that. But Macy just fucked up her knee, man. What can you do? What else is there? Whether see right now, Asia's they're not doing that bad, man. A lot of people fucking up, like fucking around with the Asians and shit. You got the zombie making some noise at featherweight. You got fucking Weili killing it at strawweight as the champ. Just came in with one of the best fights probably all time and shit. Which is funny is because earlier that night they inducted Jones Gustafsson, the fight, into the UFC Hall of Fame, right? If you compare those fights, what was a better fight? No questions asked, dude. It was fucking Weili and Joanna. No questions asked. Do you believe that? What do you think of Rodolfo Vieira? I think Rodolfo needs to be tested. I think he's just fought guys that he could jiu-jitsu his way towards. And I think he needs to face somebody. Of his next fight should be somebody that is that has takedown defense and then that could strike. But do I feel like he's gonna be like Jacare? Nah, I don't think so. How old is Vieira too? Like I don't think he's that young. Um, yeah, I don't think he's gonna be especially at middleweight. It's gonna be hard, man. There's a lot of good guys at middleweight. Who does Vieira fight next? You know, you see his eye. Yeah, Safra fucked his eye up, man. Yeah, his eye was fucked up. Like, I wonder what his eye looks like today. I wish he would put pictures up. Yeah, also people say Lawler versus Roy was one of the greatest, but in my opinion, blew that out of the water. To me, I feel like Lawler and Rory was a, a, a better fight than Jones Gustafsson, to be honest with you. Just more as an excitement wise, I feel like Rory and Lawler was more exciting and than Gustafsson and Jones. But they're all fucking good fights, man. It's just hard to decide. Vieira is 30. Oh, that's not bad then. So, and he doesn't have that many fights either. So, man, uh, yeah, the sky's the limit for Vieira, man. If he could get his striking together, because it seems like his wrestling is really good, and of course, you don't have to talk about his jujitsu. It's insane. But yeah. Anyways, going back to the event cancellations, a lot of them are being canceled because of the coronavirus. But I'm gonna tell you right now, in Korea, which is probably like one of the heaviest hit countries outside of China for the coronavirus, it's getting better now. Like, I actually went to work today. I actually went outside. There's like lots of people outside. But well, I don't live in Daegu though. That's like the main place that is hit. But this is in Seoul. So I feel like it's getting better. And if it's getting better in Korea, most likely it's going to get better around the world. So I feel like the events, they're not going to get canceled anymore. So starting maybe, I feel like next month, everything will be back to normal. Just sent you a DM of his eye yesterday. Crazy. But yeah, man. So don't worry about the event cancellation. I don't think, like Dana and them, they're not too worried. But Jesus Christ. Fuck. Looked like somebody implanted, like it looks like he has a breast implant on his eye. That shit looks nasty. But anyways, appreciate the photo. What happened? All right. Any more questions? I just hope that this Jay Park and Brian Ortega thing doesn't escalate, man, like into something even worse. Um, I don't think we need that in MMA. But I also feel like civilians, Jay Park is civilian, If you, this is what I feel. This is me. If you want to dip your hands, you know, in that type of water, don't get angry. Don't get whiny. Don't be a crybaby when somebody bites your hand, right? Don't do that. Don't know what you're getting into, right? Because these are fighters. These are not basketball players. These are not, you know, football players. These are not baseball players. This is fighting. This is different. And I feel like if you're going to do that, you should know the consequences. Of course, Brian Ortega should not attack a translator or whatever you want to call him. But at the same time, you should be careful of what you do because these guys, you don't know who they really are. Yeah. Korean Zombie Ortega, yeah, it's incoming. We talked about that for like 30 minutes. Um, Other than that, what else? Whenever they stare down, whenever they stare down. Hopefully, we will see the evil, serious side of Jung. I don't think so. I don't think we'll see anything. I think it's kind of weird because both those guys, like Dana White said, it's like out of their character, right? It's not who they are, you know, which is fucking weird, right? If Dana says that, then it shows you something, I believe. But Dana lies all the time too, so who knows? Do you think Joanna has a serious injury? Because I have never seen that before on someone's head. No, I don't think so. I think it's just bruising. It should be probably back to normal. I feel like in a couple days she's gonna put a picture, and it's gonna look, her face is gonna look normal, like her forehead's gonna look normal. It did look kind of sick though. Especially like it looked like a bowl of jelly. You know, like a bowl of jelly. Like if you slam it on something, and like every time Whaley hit her, it just slammed on her, and like it just looked like one of those fart bags. I don't know. It just looked disgusting. What else is coming up, man, on the docket? Who's some of the next uh, Asian fighters on the docket? Like, not many Asian fighters on the docket coming up, right? Um, yeah, I don't see many coming up. Like, Rizin's supposed to have a show. Rizin 22 is having a show. When is this shit happen? I don't even know. Oh, it's supposed to happen on April 19th in Yokohama Arena, right? In Yokohama. But uh, nothing is really confirmed though. The only, yeah, it seems like they're gonna have a fight between uh Mikuru Asakura or Asakura Mikuru versus uh Boku. Boku is the former one championship lightweight champion. Remember in Rising 21 after Asakura won, Boku stepped out and challenged him. Um, but what is it? So many memes out there. Yeah, there are. There's so many memes out there, man. It's funny, but it's not funny. You know, what can you do? It's the internet. Internet, you can't stop it. So yeah, just the there's some of them that look like Joanna, man. You can it's hard to deny. Yeah, so Ryzen 22, April 9th, 18th. What did it say? 18th or 19th in Yokohama. Hopefully fights for that card will be getting announced. But the thing is, what I'm afraid is like they're talking about they're gonna postpone or delay or cancel the Olympics in Japan. If they do that, most likely all the the Rising cards are gonna be canceled too. Most likely. I'm not for sure. But yeah, it's not a good sign when the Olympics are canceled. How did the Soha management scandal pan out when where she was not getting her money back? Um, what is it? The Hamzai situation right now, it's still going through like court proceedings, so I can't say much about it at all. Yeah, they're in court right now. So once stuff starts to come kind of get out and released, then that's when I could talk about it more and reveal names and like the real corporates, and I started to figure out like who the people are too. Um like I would go to events and then I would like meet people and I'll see certain people there and then I don't know who they are. But then now I'm starting to see like, oh shit, oh that's that person. That's that person, right? So it's like I'll reveal that in a later date. But yeah. A Tibet Chinese fighter was supposed to fight in Brazil on Saturday, but he has had visa issues. Of course he has visa issues. China is fucking have the coronavirus, man. Like, how you gonna get a visa when you got the coronavirus popping off, like in your Chinese and shit? That's not gonna be a hard sell to any country. Um, Thoughts on Tofik Musayev? Beast, man, beast. He's a fucking beast, man. Like he beat two world class monsters in one night, right? And also, what are your thoughts on the fighters in our region of Dagestan, Azerbaijan, like Tofik, Habib? Fuck, monsters, man. Like, what can I say, man? Like, Dagestan is just filled with monsters. Like, it's like a country of monsters. Monsters in a good way. Like, the reason why I say monsters in a good way, because these monsters are the ones that are in the cage just smashing fools. And Tofik, man, I saw him fight in Rizin last year on New Year's Eve, and dude had a broken hand and still went in there and smashed Pitbull. He smashed Johnny Case, and then he smashed Pitbull. That's a fucking pretty good resume in one night. And he's the fucking champ now. Did you see what Khabib's teammate Islam said about? Yeah, man, it's just cultural differences, man. Like, that is major cultural differences right there. Islam is saying something that maybe in this country it's okay to say, but around the world, and especially in the US, it's not okay to say. So we'll see what happens with that. Uh, you thought Song Yadong got lucky with the draw, or you thought he lost? Oh, he lost to Stamen. Yeah, he got lucky. I thought the judges got it right by giving them a draw. I don't know. I thought he lost, but draw is a draw. But I thought he lost. I want to see Song Yadong fight now. It's been a while. Yeah, I want to see him fight too. But it's gonna be hard to get these like Chinese fighters visas and shit. They need real help. But yeah, I want to see Song Yadong fight. Um, I want to see Song Yadong fight uh Kang Kyung-ho, but Song Yadong is ranked, so most likely he's not gonna fight. Hey, why doesn't he fight Sean O'Malley? Why doesn't Song Yadong fight Sean O'Malley? Is that a good fight? It's a good test, right? Song Yadong I feel he's ranked. Sean O'Malley's a rising star. Why not put them together? Stylistically, pretty good matchup, right? Um, but for Sean O'Malley, I would like to see him fight Dominic Cruz. Yeah, Kyung Kong. Yeah, why not? Like, Kyung Kong is on like a 3-fight win streak. What else would you have? All right, let's go over here. See what happens. Nothing. All right. Anything else? Yeah. Did you see how it took Zhang 3 weeks to get to the U.S. to be able to fight? Yeah, it took 3 weeks because I feel like it's just all, red tape and shit. The government Kang did pretty shit against Yadong's homie Ping. Yeah, yeah. He like, in UFC Busan when he fought uh Ping. Yeah, his face was fucked up afterwards, man. When I was interviewing him in the backstage after his fight, dude, his face, his nose was fucked up. Yeah, he got out of that fight with the skin of his teeth, man. That was a fucking brutal fight. What else is there? Yeah, Song Yadong, man. Like, he's like one of the bright spots for China too. China has some good fighters, man, right now. It's like, let's be honest, Korea, their fighters are not doing well outside of the Zombie and outside of Kang Kyung-ho. Those two are probably doing the best. Like, the other guys, either they've been cut or they're barely winning their fights, right? Um, and then there's what's her name? She's ranked though, flyweight. Uh, Kim Jian. Kim Jian. She's injured, or she's recovering from surgery. Remember, she was pulled from her fight in Busan versus Mazo, Sabina Mazo. Um, so she's recovering right now. She's such a nice person, that girl. Whenever I see her, she's always happy and shit. Very good girl. Um, but yeah, she's recovering from injury. She's ranked. I think she's like ranked number 14th or 13th or something in flyweights. So I'm excited to see her come back and see who they match her up with in her return. Who else is there? I got about 5 more minutes, man. What else is there? What do you guys got for me? 5 more minutes. Let me know what's up. Maybe you guys got something about. Uh, I thought Kang was. I thought it was an easy fight for Kang, but he disappointed and just laid on Ping. Yeah, you're right. I thought he was gonna finish Ping, but he didn't. Kang Kyung-ho looks huge for a bantamweight. He is huge for a bantamweight. He cuts a lot of weight. His weight cut starts. I feel like days and days before the fight. I think the Chinese are doing better when it comes to UFC Asian fighters, and then it's the Koreans. Yeah, that's all you have. You don't have. I think Japan. There's only one Japanese fighter, or there's only two Japanese fighters on the roster. There's Sato and uh and Mizuki. And Mizuki, yeah, Mizuki, yeah. What happened to Chi Young Kim after her win? Chi Young, Kim Jin. Good night, buddy. Good night. Don't forget, Cedric. Kim Ji-yeon, she got injured. I think she injured her arm during during her training camp for UFC Busan, and she was pulled from that event. And then she's just been recovering from that injury. But I think she's back to training now. So yeah, we should see her get scheduled probably in the next couple months. She'll probably be fighting soon. But she's been training over out. Well, she right now she's in Korea, but she's been training a lot over at Alliance in San Diego. So she's been getting a lot of work out there. A couple Korean fighters been out there. What's his name? The Korean gangster. I forgot. He fought in Combates, and he just won the heat lightweight title. Yeah, his name Korean gangster. He's over there at Alliance too. Um, yeah, but both of them train over there now, back and forth, Korea, San Diego, which is good, man. I like that. I like seeing the Korean fighters go out and get as many looks. The Japanese are doing horrible to the point where all of them are cutting out. Yeah, there's only two, and they don't. What can you do, man? Yoshinori Hori got cut for no reason though. Yeah, that was weird. He only had one fight, but Cho Sung Bin also got cut after one fight. Kind of similar, right? And Cho Sung Bin didn't get finished. Hori did. So it's weird, man. Like I don't understand what the UFC does sometimes when they cut guys. Certain guys get cut after one fight. Certain guys could lose 4 in a row and still be getting fights. It's very odd. Is Junyoung Park a funny guy? He seems like it, yeah. He's a funny guy. He's kind of a goofy guy, right? I've spoken with him a couple times. The funny thing is, I before I turn this off, with like Junyoung Park, he was making his debut in Shenzhen in China, right? And then I was there covering the event, and I went to shout out to Coach Ha. He's the owner of Korean Top Team. But I went up to interview Junyoung Park and Cheongdaeun. And Junyoung Park, I did the interview in English and we translated and everything, right? Junyoung Park thought I lived in America. So when I went to a show a couple months back in Korea, it was Double G, I think. He was shocked because he thought I lived in America the whole time, and he was like surprised and shit. Like when he saw me there, because he's like, I thought you lived in America. Because I did the interview in English, so he's a cool dude. But Hori did good against the prospect. He did. Hori did great, man. But he got knocked out. And like I said, Cho Sung Bin did. You know, yeah, it's weird, man. You're right. He did great on that fight, but it's weird. Anyways, I'm gonna bounce, guys. I'm gonna do this every Monday, same time, 11 p.m. Korea time, 9 a.m. Uh, East Coast time, 6 a.m. Uh, what is it? Pacific time, Standard Time, and 2 p.m. UK time, and whatever time you're listening from, that time. So come back. We'll talk more Asian MMA. We'll talk about more of what you want to talk about. Uh, uh, you if you want to know anything, ask me in the comments, and I'll be here. 4 seconds. 3, 2, 1. I'm gone. Thanks, guys. See you guys next week.